can I just take this moment to thank each and every one of you amazing supporters. This channel has grown into an amazing community of story lovers. I could not have done it without you guys. If you haven't yet subscribed, then please be part of this journey and help us reach new heights.
I never should have taken that last order. It was getting late, and I was already exhausted from a full day of delivering food orders across the city. But that $15 bonus pay flashed across my phone's screen, and I couldn't resist. It was just one more delivery after all. As the restaurant loaded up my car with bags of food, I tapped the address in my GPS and headed across town. The route took me off the main roads into one of those old industrial areas, all warehouses and empty factories, and not a soul in sight. When the GPS told me I had arrived, all I saw was a chain-link fence around an abandoned lot filled with weeds. I double-checked the address on my phone, then triple and quadruple checked it against the dilapidated buildings around me. The pin on my map definitely indicated this spot, but there were no houses, apartments, or businesses here to deliver this food order to. Just old decrepit warehouses surrounded by chain-link fences and weeds sprouting up through the cracked pavement. I scratched my head, puzzled and a little annoyed. Had I just been pranked with a fake delivery address? What was I supposed to do now, with all this paid for food filling up my car? As I sat there, debating whether to just dump the food and mark the order delivered or try contacting the customer, a vehicle suddenly pulled into the abandoned lot behind me. I glimpsed it in my rearview mirror, one of those old Crown Victoria cars the cops favor, with the spotlights attached to the A-pillars on either side. But this one was jet black without any police markings. Strange. I wondered if it was some kind of unmarked car. The vehicle crept slowly across the fractured cement behind my bumper. As I watched warily in the mirror, trying to figure out why it was here, the driver suddenly revved the engine. Tires screeched on pavement as it jerked forward. I spun to look back just in time to see the Crown Vic barreling straight for my rear bumper. My heart seized in my chest. Without thinking, I slammed the gear shift into drive and stomped the gas pedal. My tires peeled out as I swerved sharply to the right. The black Crown Victoria zoomed past my driver's side door, missing me by mere inches before slamming its brakes with a piercing squeal. I caught a glimpse of tinted windows hiding the driver as the car hissed to a stop. Fear spiked through my veins. The driver just tried to ram my vehicle. Are they crazy? Do they want to carjack me or something? Fueled by adrenaline now, I floored the gas pedal and my car fishtailed before rocketing forward out of the abandoned lot. My food delivery bags tumbled all over the backseat as I sped down cracked access roads back towards the main streets. My mind raced almost as fast as my car, struggling to make sense of what just happened. Who was in that mystery Crown Vic, and why did they just attack me? I checked the mirror again. Sure enough, the mysterious black Crown Vic was right on my tail. They hit the gas too, keeping pace with me even as I whizzed through stop signs and wove between lanes. This wasn't just in my head. I realized I was officially being chased by that creepy car. I gripped the wheel tight, focus narrowed to getting away from that vehicle behind me. I blew through intersections, drove over medians, even hopped the curb onto sidewalks in my frenzied escape mission. My pursuer stayed glued to me somehow, matching every frantic move. After what felt like hours of being relentlessly tailed all over the city, I finally lost the creep when I whipped down an alley too narrow for their big car to follow. My heart still racing, I parked behind a dumpster to catch my breath and figure out what the hell just happened. Peering down the alley, there was no sign of the black Crown Victoria. I sat shivering in silence for several minutes before cautiously pulling back onto the street. As I merged into traffic, My eyes darted to every passing car, half expecting to see my mysterious pursuer emerge again at any second. But the familiar shapes of sedans and minivans eased my panic. Still anxious, I stuck to main roads the whole way home, checking all my mirrors excessively. Safely back in my driveway at last, the terror of the chase finally spilled over. I broke down right there in the driver's seat, all that pent-up fear releasing through heaving sobs. In the light of day, the events of that night seem almost unreal, like some action movie I imagined. I've replayed it constantly in my mind. Who was in that car? Why did they chase me? Was it random, or was I targeted for some reason? My questions only breed more unsettling questions rather than any kind of resolution. The police shrugged off my frazzled story when I tried to file a report the next day. In the absence of license plate numbers or identifying details, they have little to investigate. Apparently attempted vehicular assaults aren't that uncommon around here anyway. But none of their blasé explanations make me feel any safer. I still drive for DoorDash here and there to pay my bills, but I avoid taking orders too late or too far off main roads. Every innocuous sedan I pass sometimes morphs into that predatory black Crown Vic in my peripheral vision, triggering my fight or flight response before I remind myself that car is long gone. After that harrowing chase, though, some part of me worries my mysterious pursuer is still roaming around out there. And if I let my guard down again, those blinding spotlights may reappear closing in fast behind me once more.
I'll never forget that delivery I took to the old decrepit house on the edge of town. It started out normal enough. The order popped up on my DoorDash app with instructions to leave it on the porch. When I pulled up to the crumbling Victorian mansion, I remember feeling uneasy. All windows were boarded up, and the overgrown trees cast dark shadows across the peeling paint and broken shingles. But hey, it was a decent-sized tip for basically no effort. I placed the food by the cracked front door and snapped the obligatory delivered pic. As I turned to leave, something caught my eye. A slip of paper fluttered under the dirty welcome mat at my feet. I bent down and retrieved a handwritten note scrawled in shaky letters. To anyone who finds this, please help. I'm trapped here against my will. He won't let me leave. Please send help. I don't know how much longer I can. The note ended abruptly, the last words scratched out violently in dark ink. My blood ran cold. Was someone trapped inside this creepy old wreck of a house? It almost seemed too crazy to believe, like something out of a horror movie. But that desperate cry for help gave me chills. Maybe they managed to sneak the note out a cracked window or something when I came by with food. I pounded hard on the solid front door, shouting hello. Is anyone in there? Are you okay? No response came back besides the echo of my own voice. Unease rising, I pulled out my phone to dial the cops just as an old pickup truck came barreling down the long dirt driveway toward me. Panicked, I dropped the note and bolted to my car. Over the next few days, I agonized over what I witnessed at that abandoned house. I felt guilty and ashamed that I ran away instead of trying to rescue whoever wrote that note begging for help. Surely the cops would have come to check out the situation after I called it in, right? My doubts pushed me to drive out to the decrepit mansion again a week later. In the light of day, it seemed even more bleak and lifeless. Cobwebs covered the weathered siding and weeds choked what remained of the surrounding garden. I didn't see any police around. The property looked deserted, almost like no one had set foot here in ages. Had it just been some dumb prank by local kids? As I peered into the dirt-crusted windows for any signs of life within, my phone dinged with a new delivery request. I almost dropped the thing when I saw the address. It was this house, the very same crumbling Victorian mansion I stood before, supposedly abandoned. An icy finger of fear traced my spine. What the hell? Who ordered food from this wreck of a place? More disturbing deliveries continued sporadically over the next few months. Each time I'd pull hesitantly down the long dirt driveway lined with gnarled trees and park before the shadowy facade. No one ever came to the door to retrieve the food bags I left by the sagging front porch, but each time I discovered another frantic note wedged under the mat. Why does nobody help me? Please come inside. I leave notes, but no one listens. He likes to watch me suffer. If you're reading this, you're my last hope. Save me before he returns. The pleas grew more dire every time. I showed the notes to the cops and begged them to search the property or track the delivery orders. Anything. They insisted no one actually lived there. Some internet prank or app glitch, they said. But I knew in my gut whoever wrote those notes was suffering somehow within those decrepit walls. Eventually, I worked up the nerve to push open the creaking front door myself. Flakes of paint drifted down as I peered into the gloomy foyer. The air inside smelled earthy and dank, with a deeper sickly sweet undertone that made my stomach turn. I called out tentative hellos but got no reply. Each deserted room I checked revealed no signs of inhabitation besides some scattered trash and graffiti. In what I guessed was the living area, the faded floral wallpaper was marred by a single dark, rusty streak dripping down to the dusty floorboards, like a bloody handprint wiped across the floral print. A violent shudder shook my whole body at the sight. Just then I heard the pickup truck again, crunching up the long driveway. I didn't stop to see who was driving it this time. I fled that nightmare house and didn't look back. But the mystery delivery orders continue to this day. I begged DoorDash to block that address, certain some sadistic creep is using the app to toy with me. Still the requests come sporadically, each time leading me reluctantly back down the weed-choked dirt road to the abandoned mansion rotting in shadowy solitude. And now every time I approach, I feel as if unseen eyes are watching me from somewhere deep in the tangled briars that surround the lonely, looming house. I'll never forget that monster of a dog lurking on Mrs. Robinson's front porch. I knew taking more DoorDash deliveries after dark was pushing my luck. But rent waits for no one, so I grabbed an order taking me out to the edge of town just as the sun slipped below the trees. The navigation led me down winding country roads flanked by woods on either side. Kinda creepy with no streetlights to pierce the thick blanket of night. I squinted to make out house numbers on mailboxes in the glow of my headlights. Finally, I pulled up a steep gravel driveway and spotted the address I was seeking. As I parked my Corolla and gathered up the food bag, some movement in my peripheral vision made me glance over. That's when I first spotted Kudo. In the shadows of the covered wraparound porch, that absolutely massive Rottweiler eyed me, unmoving. Even from a distance, I could tell his muscular jaws were strong enough to crack bones. This was no cuddly house pet. This was a trained attack dog. Fear skittered down my spine. I checked the delivery instructions again, but saw no warnings about guard dogs. The lights inside were off, so hopefully the beast would stay put while I dropped off the food as fast as possible. Taking a deep breath, I opened the car door. The creaking hinge set Cujo off like a starting gun. He erupted from the porch in a blur of fur and fangs aimed for my throat. I shrieked and dove back into my car just as all 150 pounds of snarling Rottweiler slammed into the metal door, barking viciously. Heart hammering against my ribs, I fumbled the keys into the ignition. Cujo clawed madly at the window, drool dripping down the glass as his bared teeth snapped ferociously at me through the barrier. Trapped in my small set-in under the sustained attack, panic overwhelmed all sensible thought. As soon as the engine turned over, I threw the car in reverse, narrowly missing Cujo as he lunged again for my door handle. My tires spit gravel as I floored the gas down the hill we had come. Eyes darting to the mirror, I saw Cujo racing behind my car, easily keeping pace. There was no way I could outrun this beast. At the end of the rural driveway, I swung the wheel hard to turn onto the empty, night-drenched road. The sudden skid threw Cujo slightly off course, just enough for me to speed off with a few precious seconds of lead time before I heard his baying barks again behind the car. Heave it together, I mentally shouted at myself. But the lonely wooded country road offered zero places for refuge. It was all empty fields and forest in the oppressive darkness. Desperately, I pressed harder on the gas, hitting 70-80 miles per hour on the winding asphalt. Still, that relentless barking sounded steadily closer behind me. My mind raced faster than my rocketing car. What did they train police dogs to do? Take out a tire to stop vehicles. At this speed, a blowout would probably flip my compact car in a catastrophic instant. but maybe I could somehow make it back to the highway where surely Cujo couldn't follow. Just then I felt a heavy smashing thud against my rear bumper, nearly fishtailing me into the trees lining the road. Glancing back, I glimpsed a tangle of fur before he emerged again, trotting determinedly after my car. Cujo was intentionally crashing his huge frame against my back end, trying to take me out. By some adrenaline-fueled miracle, I kept the car straight on the dark road, now doing well over 90 miles per hour. The highway had to be close if I could just withstand this relentless canine assault, when suddenly I spotted the green glow of an exit sign ahead. Nearly crying in relief, I took the curve sharply, my back bumper surely now dented to hell, but still intact for now. I blew through the empty intersection without slowing. Glancing desperately back, I saw Cujo halt at the edge of the main road, massive body silhouetted by my taillights as he stared me down. The image seared into my brain. This beast came within inches of killing me. Shaking badly, I pulled into the first open gas station I found. As I huddled inside my car, too terrified to step outside, a crazy thought occurred. Maybe Cujo was somehow still tracking me right now already. Just then, a loud tap made me nearly jump out of my skin before realizing it was just an attendant knocking politely to ask if I needed help. I breathlessly babbled some wild story of nearly being attacked by a vicious dog that pursued me relentlessly for miles at high speed. Thankfully, the gas station had security footage to review. Otherwise, I'm not sure if the skeptical attendant would fully believe such an unbelievable tale. To this day, I still do DoorDash deliveries to pay rent, but never, and I mean never, again after dark, and absolutely never to any houses with dogs large or small. And if I am somehow forced to deliver to houses with canines, I am instantly canceling those orders. My terror of finding Cujo or some incarnation of him waiting on a future shadowy porch means such deliveries simply are not worth the meager tip for me. I'll risk angry customers and bad ratings over tangling with deadly jaws ever again.
Thanks for listening in. If you like these stories and want to hear more, then please subscribe and like and support this new channel. We have more stories for you to listen to.